Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cabinet meeting of Broadland District Council. Just to kick off this evening's meeting, to remind you that it is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. And I'd just like to start the meeting by introducing a brief statement on the continuing crisis in Ukraine. We are proudly flying the Ukraine flag in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. We want to send a message loud and strong to the people of Ukraine that our prayers are with them, that they have our support, and in what is an extremely horrific time for them. That on behalf of members and officers of Broadland District Council, we utterly condemn the unprovoked actions of Russia and the premeditated war against the people of Ukraine. We have already seen how the humanitarian cost is dreadful, and it is only going to get worse. Broadland District Council stands ready to help Ukrainian refugees wherever we can, working with the UK government to support its settlement programme. In the meantime, our team, working in partnership with the other Norfolk councils, is making preparation at pace for the refugee settlement in Norfolk. Where Broadland residents have asked us how to help, we are directing them to make cash donations to agencies such as the Red Cross, as this is seen as the best way to get help to people in this humanitarian crisis. We have not been able to identify any contracts with Russian-owned companies. Should it be established that we do, then steps will be taken to break these relationships. We have no investments in Russia or Russian companies that we are aware of, and therefore we also encourage others to disinvest from Russia. One of our energy contracts, though, is with Total, who have now officially made it known, unlike many other companies, that they intend to continue to operate in Russia. Therefore, we are currently seeking alternative suppliers. We do not, and we will not, provide any support for the Russian war machine, which is against all the odds. The Iranian people, with amazing tenacity and resolve, are withstanding at this point in time. Long may they continue to resist, knowing they have the support of the world behind them. Just like to just take a moment, and then we can move on. So just like to introduce tonight's meeting. So I'm Sean Vincent, leader of Broadland District Council and chairman of the Cabinet meeting. I'm going to ask each of the Cabinet members to introduce themselves and the senior officers. I'm going to start with the Deputy Leader, Councillor Mancini-Boyle.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm Councillor Trudy Mancini-Boyle. I'm the Deputy Leader and the Portfolio Holder for Finance.
Good evening, I'm Jonathan Emsel. I'm the Portfolio Holder for Transformation and Organisational Development.
I'm Councillor Fran Wymark. I'm Portfolio Holder for Housing and Wellbeing. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Judy Leggett and I'm the Portfolio Holder for Environmental Excellence.
Hello, I'm Jo Copplestone. I'm the Portfolio Holder for Economic Development.
Thank you. I'd also now just ask the senior officers to introduce themselves, starting with the Managing Director, please.
Good evening, my name is Trevor Holden and I'm the Managing Director of Broadland and South Norfolk Councils.
I'm Phil Courtier, Director of Place.
Debbie Lorimer, Director of Resources.
Emma Hodds, Monitoring Officer.
Karen Laurie, Assistant Director of ICT and Digital and Transformation.
Chairman, if I could suggest the other officers introduce themselves when they present their reports.
Thank you. That would be good. And we'll also get to meet the chair of ONS at the same point in time when we get to his point on the agenda. Okay, so that moves us on then to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest to declare on tonight's items? No. Okay, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
We've received apologies from absence from Councillor Lawn.
Thank you. That moves us on then to the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 8th of February, that start at page 7. Can I take those as being correct and sign them off? Or... Yep. Okay, I'll do that. Public speaking, I don't believe we have any. No. There are no other members of here tonight, so I won't introduce them. That moves us on to item 7, which is overview and scrutiny. So I'd ask the chair of overview and scrutiny to introduce himself.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Steve Riley, Chair of Overview and Scrutiny. There are 2 items when you get through them, as you go through them, Sean, I'd like just to amplify on, and that is when you get to them, that is the Broadland rough sleeper strategy and also the BVR. To just flag those 2 up, and the others, I think, are as the minutes reflect.
Okay, thank you for that. Steve, if there is anything as we go through that comes up, just let me know, and obviously I can bring you at that point in time. Okay, so that moves us on then to item 8, being the Service Improvement and Efficiency Committee, which starts at page 19. Jonathan.
Yeah, you've got 2 agenda items on the service improvement and efficiency papers in the minutes there. Item 57 is the enforcement agency services, which will be coming on at item 20, and agenda item 60, the Rebs and Bens IT system, which will be coming on at item 22 on tonight's agenda.
Okay, thank you for that, Jonathan. We'll receive those minutes from you then. Next one is item 9, which is the Environmental Excellence Panel. Starts at page 25. Judy?
Yes, I'd like to recommend the minutes to you. I will just add that for minute 27, as that item was not, that recommendation was not detailed on the agenda, we'll bring it along to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. We'll receive those minutes. That moves us on then to item 10, being the Wellbeing Panel. Starts at page 31. Fran, do you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'd just like ask the Cabinet to receive the minutes of the Wellbeing Panel, and just to say the recommendation that's at minute 52 will be discussed at item 14. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll receive those minutes. That moves us on then to Economic Success Panel. That's at page 265. Joe?
Thank you, Chair. I would like Cabinet to receive the minutes of the Economic Success Panel of the 21st of February. I understand that minute number 69, which relates to the BVR, is being picked up under agenda item number 21. Minute 68, which refers to the Broadland Country Park. This hasn't been brought forward in this Cabinet paper, and I understand that the Assistant Director, George, is going to defer this to a future Cabinet meeting, and this will all go through due process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Joe. We'll receive those minutes and note that that item will come back to us at a later point. Okay, so that moves us on then to item 12, being the delivery plan for 2022-24, which I believe, Corin, you're picking up tonight.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of bringing the report to you today is to recommend to Council the approval and adoption of the delivery plan 2022-24. So our delivery plan sets out the projects and programmes that we plan to deliver over the next 2 years and outlines how we plan to deliver these to reach our strategic ambitions that are set in our strategic plan. So the delivery plan outlines the programmes and projects under our four key priority areas: growing the economy, supporting individuals and empowering communities, protecting and improving the natural and built environment whilst maximising quality of life, and moving with the times and working smartly and collaboratively. The delivery plan also highlights 32 delivery measures. Those measures are what we use to track our performance against, to make sure that we are delivering and how we're delivering against those projects and programmes set out in the plan. And you'll see this time round that in comparison to the previous delivery plan, some of those measures that we've added in were baselined in the previous plan, and now they are set with targets going forward this year, such as our customer satisfaction and experience measure going forward. That's everything for me, and open to questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. As I say, the delivery plan is before us. It really sets out our ambition and our things that we're doing over the next 2 years. And when you look at the plan, you can just see how big the list is and how much we've got on the agenda as far as taking things forward and landing our ambitions. The recommendation is on page 39, which I would ask Cabinet to, or recommend to Cabinet. At that point, is anyone who's going to second that one? Joe?
Yes, if I could second that, Chair, and I'd just like to add a few comments about the delivery plan if there are no further questions.
Do you want to lead off then? Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm delighted to see the delivery plan come forward. There's some really strong items under economic development. I just want to pick out a couple. Our economic development team have supported our businesses very well through the COVID crisis, and I can see from the plan that this continues. We're also strongly supporting the visitor economy, our market towns, and looking at improving the public realm. Our business support and training is continuing, and I'm pleased that our business mentoring scheme will be starting shortly, and that will help with our training. The Broadland Food Innovation Centre will be completed in September, and we have tenants queuing up to take the incubator units. As well as that, the growth team are working well and looking at commercial opportunities throughout the area, as well as infrastructure improvements to enable growth. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Joe. Trudy?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to say, the projects that are coming forward for the finance team are a review of opportunities for a green bond model, something that we've been talking about a lot lately, and that should now be moving forward at pace. One that I think the finance team is probably quite nervous about being implemented within the next couple of weeks, a new finance system. And then also starting to work on the revs and benefits system as well, which is quite a long process. Members and officers will meet regularly over the next 12 months to make sure we've got the right system in place. And that paper is coming forward later on the agenda as well. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that. Trudy? Fran?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'd like to just say how much excellent work has been done over the last year or more than a year, really, but particularly the ongoing work of the Help Hub, which is there to support our residents at times of need, and they've done such an excellent job. They've also reached out through the SNAB community links to keep support groups that were formed over COVID. keep them going and keeping them supporting their communities. The housing team have done a fantastic job, and that continues. And we're looking at temporary accommodation at the moment as part of the review going forward, and I really hope that will take us to a good place. Within the housing team as well, we're always looking to, as I say, it's S1, 2, or SI2, I think it is, reviewing and exploring different ways to support people in independent living. So I was very, very pleased to see the independent living assistance policy put in place. There's two particular policies there which I think are really, really important. The serious illness grant, which will help people with life-limiting difficulties such as motor neurons disease, to actually get support very quickly and really make a difference to their life. And the forget-me-not grant as well for people with dementia. So these things we've brought in place, and we're hoping to talk to other areas to see if they can't have this as a blanket thing across the whole of the county. So there's equity there for all the residents. The other thing I wanted to bring up was for the staff's point of view, I think I was very, very pleased to see that we've now got 44 mental health first aiders. I think that is so important. People's mental health is often overlooked. And I think it's a really great thing that we, as a corporate entity, are looking to support our staff. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fran. So, Judy?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'd like to talk about the items in the plan for environmental excellence. And firstly, I'd like to say that we're implementing a new environmental waste services contract, and thank you to all the staff who worked to negotiate that new contract. We will have an increased number of items which will be collected for recycling, small electricals, batteries, textiles, and from October, food waste. And there's also an improved road cleansing contract. We will deliver the new contract from the 4th of April, and all residents will receive a leaflet detailing exactly what can be collected. We're taking proactive steps to preserve and improve the natural environment with a tree planting programme where the grant of £500 is available, and I would encourage people to take that up. We're looking to improve the depot for the waste vehicles, improve recycling rates, and to reduce contamination. I know fly tipping is quite near people's hearts, or hate of it, so we'll put more effort into finding the perpetrators. And following a carbon audit that we have already carried out, we will plan to reduce Broadland's carbon emissions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Judy. Jonathan?
Yeah, moving forward from some of the excellent work we've done on our IT systems over the last year, the delivery plan moves forward with extra projects that will help us better use the data we have. We have the customer relationship management system, the CRM system, which will be able to better use the data that we have. We've got some web chat functions moving forward, some expansion of the Office 365 product suite, and delivery of phase 2 of the website after the successful rollout of phase 1. And I think all these things moving forward will help us work smarter as a council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Jonathan. And just pick up a few points from Sue Lawn, the portfolio holder for planning, who's not with us tonight. She just wanted to highlight that the delivery plan from a planning point of view very much focuses on an overhaul of the planning department and the systems that it's using. And this will see a new system installed, which will have the ability to link into some of the other aspects coming forward around the delivery of the ambitions, linked to the white paper that outlined the need for planning white paper, outlined the need for some of the proposals and reforms in the planning system to be streamlined. Such things as digitalisation will play a big part of that. And it's understood that there are 10 councils currently testing the use of the digital tools. So we wait and see what comes forward with that. There's also an element of the tree data and preservation orders, which will enable us to protect our trees and woodlands. Other aspects that are coming forward from a planning point of view is some new charging in relation to street naming and Section 106 monitoring. Again, these have been designed so that they cover the time that the council spends on these activities in supporting their delivery. They're coming forward to council later this month and will be implemented from April. The council also continues to be part of the Greater Norwich Growth Board and Development Partnership, which sees Broadland District Council with South Norfolk Council and Norwich City Council working together with the support from Norfolk County Council in the delivery of the wider aspects across the area or the geography of those three districts. This is fundamentally supported by the 5-year infrastructure plan, and which sees much needed infrastructure delivered across the area, the Greater Norwich area, and also will now look to seek to implement the green infrastructure and recreational avoidance and mitigation strategy as that moves forward as part of the upcoming local plan that is currently at examination. So those were the things from planning point of view. Are there any questions that anyone wants to ask or any other points they want to make? No? Anything from ONS, Steve, on that one? No? Okay. So you have before you the recommendation on page 39, 8.1, which has been proposed and seconded. All those in favour?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so that now moves us on to item 13, which is the COVID-19 Recovery Plan 2021 to 22 Progress Report and Financial Position, which starts at page 96. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Mike, and then take us through it, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Mike Purcell, Assistant Director for Individuals and Families, and just standing in for Jamie, who's on a peer review this week. Just to introduce the report, we Cabinet agreed in June 21 a series of measures and support for COVID funding. This report gives an update on the excellent work that's been done to date on that funding and then the types of areas we've covered. Perhaps to move to note in item 5, we've got we've still got funding available, and officers have proposed a range of measures, including community connectors, extending hospitality grant and back to the office funding. So a proposal for Cabinet to chew over tonight, and we've got experts in the room on all those areas. So happy to answer any questions, Chairman.
Sounds like a challenge for us to make use of them then, doesn't it? Thank you very much for that, Mike. Yeah, so intriguing one, this one. So COVID-19 pandemic started 2 years ago, almost to this month, almost to this date. And 23rd of this month, we first went into lockdown. Doesn't seem that long ago, but time has gone by. And again, I'd just like to take this opportunity to applaud the One team and the work that they've done in supporting the vulnerable, being there for our communities and our businesses, and getting the grants and the funding out that they needed to keep them in the good place. It's been an horrendous 2 years, I think, for everybody across the world involved in this. And as such, we're now in that place where we take this forward in a different type of way. As COVID hasn't gone away, it's just now for us to live with it and learn how to do that in the right way. So as Mike said, this report just provides an update on where we are with the different aspects, and the key elements are as contained in table 5.4, which shows the funding that's been received and the expenditure that's been used of that funding, leaving the balances. And then in section 5, which identifies uses for that funding, the balances going forward, which we've been set the challenge to ask the team a little bit more about. The recommendation is at page 105, 8.1 and 8.2. I'd like to recommend those to Cabinet. Trudy.
Yeah, I'm happy to second. And I've got a couple of comments when the time's right.
Okay, thank you for that. So that moves us on then to questions and comments. So do you want to kick off, Trudy?
Yes, thank you. I'm particularly pleased to see the community connectors in the urban areas to plug the gap until March 24. We know how successful they've been. So I'm really pleased to see that in there. And I just wanted to give, if it's okay, one example of something that we have previously agreed to set money aside for that has now come to fruition. So working with South Norfolk, we've procured support to help promote the council as being easy to do business with for local SMEs. So the councils have engaged support through the East of England Local Government Association Talent Bank to plan and deliver a project to engage with local SME businesses and encourage them to participate in public sector bid tender opportunities, including the councils themselves. So dates have already been announced there's 4 virtual workshops that have been set up, if that is what the SMEs would prefer to access. But there are also 2 face-to-face workshops, one of them in Broadland at Sprowston Manor Hotel. So really want to encourage SMEs to come to those workshops. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trudy. Any other questions and points? Judy?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask a quick question about the community connectors in the urban areas and whether or not residents get benefit from the community connector? That depends on their residence, where they live, as opposed to which doctor they go to.
That's right. So it'll be every resident in Broadland will benefit from that. So the doctor surgeries don't align exactly, but it's obviously for Broadland residents who we're focused on.
Okay, thank you for that. And again, it's nice to see the connectors, as Trudy says, on the list here. That was something that I think you, Mike, and your team convinced us was a good thing to move on to last year. Subsequently, you've obviously secured a contract for those particular areas. And now this enables us to move into what you're saying is the rest of Broadland. So it's a good service that is bringing across there. It's also good to be able to put some additional funding to support the hospitality grants. And I'm sure George and his team will make sure that gets to the right people as quickly as it possibly can. And also it's good to see in there an element that recognises the work that the one team does and improving the facilities that they have. So in order to undergo their day-by-day activities here at Thorpe Lodge. So that's good to see. So I think we support all of those elements that are on there. Steve, did I see you have your hand up? Steve, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. Yeah, and over the ONS meetings and also the cabinet meetings where this has gone through, we completely support all this. I mean, some of us as councillors know directly from residents the benefit that's already been given in terms of this. Some of us are very close to some of these people that have had issues, and the community connectors work very well, actually. But just on one point, Sean, in terms of risk, which of course ONS should have a look at for the council. 6.1, Jamie was presenting at the ONS meeting, and the primary risk, of course, is the risk of an outbreak of COVID-19 or a new variant, and of course funding associated with that, as we're allocating some funding from this. I think it's important for the council just to note that ONS did cover this point, and Jamie did come back on it in terms of mitigation. So in the minutes at our next meeting of ONS, it's only a draft at the moment, there's no issues with the draft as it stands, but we'll just firm up that draft just to ensure that we've got the comments that came back from Jamie, that they do mitigate set against 6.1, which I think is necessary for the council, and a bit of due diligence, which I think is helpful to council as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Steve. And so we'll look forward to seeing that come back through the minutes and the elements of that. Sadly, I think there's one thing we can guarantee is there will be variants, and we have no idea how severe they will be or the impact linked to them. As I said at the beginning, all we can do is now learn to live with COVID and go forward from there. But it does feel that the funding we have, we should make use of now to optimise both the recovery of Broadland and the support of the communities of Broadland. Okay, so are there any other questions? No? Sorry, Fran?
Thank you, Chairman. Just one question. Obviously, we commissioned the YMCA to put support in place for young people, and now we're talking to the CCG. I wondered if you could give us any more detail on that, about where we were.
Kerry, have you got the up to date? Sorry, this is a classic.
If you could just introduce yourself, Kerry, and then have a go at the answer.
Of course. I'm Kerry Gallagher. Sorry, Fran. I'm the Help Hub Senior Manager. In terms of the contract with the YMCA, that's now with the CCG to make a decision about how they want to roll that programme out across the whole of Norfolk. So they have decided not to fund it specifically in Broadland at the moment, but with the long-term aim of being able to run out something similar in coming months and years. They definitely saw the kind of success that it had. So it was a great pilot to raise awareness of it, really.
Okay, I guess the follow-up question is that what happens in between time? Because people are going to fall through the cracks as such.
They are, and that's something that we've considered. We didn't take on any new cases that we felt would get partway through the process and drop off the cliff. So we are supporting any customers in the same way we would have done prior to that service being in place, by doing as much as we possibly can within the resources that are available. But sadly, there is huge waiting lists and such like for young people's mental health services. So we make the best of the situation that we can to try and support those residents.
Thank you. Do you have any idea of timeline?
Unfortunately not. We do ask quite regularly from the CCG about what their thoughts might be, and we'd hope to hear something fairly soon, but as of yet, nothing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so recommendation is at 8.1, 8.2 on page 105, which I've proposed and Trudy has seconded. All those in favour?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so that moves us on then to item 14, which is the South Norfolk and Broadland Rough Sleeper Strategy 2022 to 25. And I'm talking more slowly just to give Richard and Victoria a chance to get to the table. Okay, who's leading off? So Victoria, if you'd like to just introduce yourself and then take us through the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So Victoria Parsons, I'm a Policy and Partnerships Officer. Good evening, everyone. So this is presenting the South Norfolk and Broadland Rough Sleeper Strategy for approval, and it sets out our vision over the next 3 years to eliminate rough sleeping. So although the strategy has a focus on rough sleeping and the prevention of rough sleeping, it links into our overarching homelessness prevention approach. So that's with our best-in-class housing offer and also our Greater Norwich homelessness strategy. So the strategy was developed to align with central government National Rough Sleeper Strategy, and was also influenced by findings from our review of our rough sleeper service. So within the strategy, we aim to prevent rough sleeping from occurring, intervene in those very small occasions when it does occur, make sure that we're providing recovery measures so that outcomes are positive and long lasting, and then also ensure that we're working in a joined up fashion. So yeah, happy to take further questions.
Okay, thank you for that, Victoria. Fran, did you want to add anything at this point?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for all the hard work you've done to put this together. So I know it's taken a great deal of work, and it's so important for our residents. It just is, you know. I mean, people often overlook rough sleepers. They don't even see them; they're invisible. So I think this piece of work is just so important. So I'd like to formally proposed the recommendation as on page 107 and 113. And just the one thing I would like to say is I like the approach that we're taking. I very much like the approach we're taking. I think it's so important. I mean, we're looking at prevention as a first step. Obviously, our intervention and our team are working together to support people. So when we actually do identify people, we support them to get them into housing, and then obviously we look at their recovery. So a lot of people are experiencing a lot of different difficulties, be it mental health or drug and alcohol dependency, etc. So that recovery is really important, and to support people actually with their finances too, because some people have been rough sleeping, may have lived, dare I say, chaotic lives, and therefore need additional support. And obviously, ultimately, it's about getting all the systems working together. And I think it's so important that approach that we're taking. So I really do recommend this to Cabinet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fran. Do you have a second? Judy?
I'll be pleased to second that. I think it's very worthwhile strategy, and we don't wish to see any Broadland residents without a bed for the night. So I'm very happy to second the proposal.
Thank you for that, Judy. Yeah, it is, as you say, it's not something that we have a huge problem with, but it's good that we have a strategy in place that will then support and deliver for those that need it. So thank you for bringing that forward. Are there any other questions from Cabinet at this point? No? Okay, so Steve, you wanted to come in at this point?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, obviously the committee fully supported this, and I went through a number of points in terms of the long-term issues with rough sleeping as well. This isn't just somebody who's sleeping rough for a night. This is an habitual problem that some people have. They get housed temporarily, or they get they're put into the overnight hostels over at St Martin's, elsewhere, and then of course we still have the tripping going on back into rough sleeping, etc. So a number of these points were raised at ONS. Of course, absolutely support all the hard work that's gone into this, but there was something that came to light via the ONS process, which isn't in the report, but it's a significant news actually. And as Richard will recall, he's minuted this. I'd noted that there was a capacity issue amongst bodies supporting people who end up rough sleeping. It's just a lack of mental health support was one of the reasons for this. Now we know, and the officers know as well, that part of the issue here is that when the partners are trying to solve this problem, mental health support quite often isn't there in the way it's needed to be there. So people get taken off via A&E over an episode, and sometimes in from the supported lodgings, and then just released 2 hours later, and you got back into the same system again. So the real good news for us and everyone is Richard amplified then in response to that that a new emphasis is going to be placed on the prevention of rough sleeping for homeless by Norfolk and Suffolk Foundation Mental Health Trust. This will be via a new fully resourced rehab team to help people discharge from mental health units into accommodation with support from them to stay there. There's also a benefit of freeing up beds in mental health units more quickly. So this is a pilot in the Greater Norwich area, and with that in place, this is going to make a tremendous difference. It's been a fault line all the way through, and also, Chair, asked that we are supplied with a up-to-date on that when it's a new initiative, hence it's not in the report. When that's further down the line, paper to come back to us all in terms of that, a briefing paper, and if necessary, go back through committees. So that was, again, for ONS, we got a bit more information. That information was good news, actually, and thanks for that.
Okay, thank you for that, Steve. Yeah, I think if nothing else, the last 2 years and the pandemic has demonstrated how well agencies can work together when they are joined up in the right way and deliver. And it sounds like what you're describing there is just an extension of that. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Richard.
Only just to reiterate how encouraging it is to have so many NSFT people in quite quite a lot of meetings at the moment when we haven't had that until recently, and I'm really encouraged by this risk rehab stream of work. We will be looking to Emma to guide us on the best way to put this work in front of members, because this is not having any financial impact on the council, and therefore the decision making side is negated. But I will make sure that Fran is fully updated, and so that can be disseminated across members.
No, that would be appreciated. I guess the key thing is it just has to align, or we have to make sure that our policies and delivery of implementation of the strategies then aligns with whatever comes out of that in the way that it changes. So yeah, that would be the right way to do it.
As a key partner and influencer on making sure that this does meet our needs, I'm making sure that happens the whole way through.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this has been proposed by Fran, seconded by Judy. The recommendation is at page 113, 7.1. All those in favour?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so that moves us on then to item 15, which is the approval of the extension to Beela Conservation Area and the adoption of the Conservation Area Appraisal document, which starts at page 144. We have Phil in the chair tonight, so did you want to take us through this, please, Phil?
Yeah, relatively straightforward report. Every time I say it's a straightforward matter, then it blows back in my face, but I think this one is. You can see conservation areas get reviewed on a fairly regular basis. This was obviously first established in the 1970s. The Broads Authority have recently carried out an appraisal and a review which has proposed this extension. You'll see there's a bit of a mystery which I still can't exactly answer for you, which is, well, this was considered to be an appropriate thing to do previously and wasn't, but clearly it is before us now. The recommendation has already really been read out by the chairman. It is to adopt the appraisal and the extension to the conservation area for Beela.
Okay, thank you for that, Phil. I don't think I really need to add much more than that, than what this is as far as the extension of the Beela Conservation Area and following the review and just taking that forward. So the recommendation is on page 147, 6.1, 6.2, and I'd just like to recommend that to council, please. To cabinet, please. Fran?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very happy to second that as the ward member for Beela. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions in relation to this item? Go on then, Jonathan.
I was just going to say, Phil, we thought it was because it's the Broads Authority area and the Broadland area. This is the only property in the Broadland area, so that's why we thought that had got missed off. But like you say, it does seem to be every other property is there in the area, so it's just a case of adding the one in.
Okay, so thank you for confirming that, Phil. So we have the recommendation has been proposed and seconded. It's on page 147, 6.1, 6.2. All those in favour?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so that moves us on then to the Community Infrastructure Fund application by Brundall Parish Council. And George has now joined us. So if you could introduce yourself and then take us through the report, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is George Denton. I'm the Assistant Director for Economic Growth. So the purpose of this report is to seek Cabinet approval to offer a loan to Brundall Parish Council using the existing Community Infrastructure Loan Facility. In September 2015, Cabinet agreed to establish the Community Infrastructure Fund from the Broadland Growth Reserve. This fund provides a borrowing facility for parish and town councils to draw down the cost of delivering local infrastructure projects, with the knowledge that this will be underwritten by future SIL receipts. The requested loan amount is £231,318.85 to be precise. To facilitate this loan, the earmark reserves will need to be increased by £150,000 to a total value of £650,000. Phase 1 of this project will deliver a new multi-sport floodlit 3G pitch and associated community building. Upon delivery, the new sports hub will be capable of hosting various sports clubs, teams, and coaching sessions within the community, whilst drawing people into the village. Due to the nature of this funding, there is very limited risk to the council, but even so, a backstop of 8 years is proposed. Appendix 1, starting on page 197, shows more details of the project and associated ambitions. Recommendations can be found on page 196, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you for that, George. Joe, did you want to come in at this point?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is a really excellent scheme. The parish council using the SIL infrastructure loan to build a sports hub. So I'd like to recommend the recommendations on, page 196 to Cabinet. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Joe. Fran?
Sorry, Chairman. Yeah, I'm very happy to second it. I think it's a really interesting project, and I hope to see many more across our area. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Fran. Any questions on this for anybody? No? Okay. It always pleases me to see these come forward. From when I first introduced this scheme all those years ago, and then each time you see one comes forward, you realise actually how important it was to be able to front fund some of the infrastructure and enabling the local communities to do that, to deliver what they wanted from growth, but sometimes before the growth arrives, which is particularly exciting. And this project looks particularly exciting as well, and will deliver some good community facilities that Brundle will no doubt enjoy. Okay, so we've got the recommendation on page 196, 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, which have been proposed by Joe and seconded by Fran. All those in favour?
That's unanimous again.
Thank you for that. Okay, so that moves us on to page 201, being the forward plan. Anything in the forward plan for anybody at this point in time? Joe?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the economic success minutes mentioned the Broadland Country Park and the master plan, and I note that this isn't included in the forward plan, and I would really like to push this project forward as quickly as possible, so perhaps that could be included as well. Thank you.
I guess we're looking at you, Phil, as George has left the room. He's back in the room if you want to leave it with him. Come and join us, George. You got a question?
Sorry, George. It was about the forward plan. And at the economic success panel, we looked at the Broadland Country Park master plan, and I see that this isn't included in the forward plan, and I'd like to push that project along as quickly as possible. So could that also be included in the forward plan and come to Cabinet as quickly as sensibly possible? Thank you.
It will come back as quickly as we possibly can. So there's a number of existing commitments that we haven't enacted so far, and I'm keen to make sure that they're in place. It enables us then to come back with a more comprehensive plan about what the park should and could look like over the medium term. I can't determine exactly what that timeframe looks like at this stage, but I'm going to move as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you for confirming that, George. And I think one of the questions that comes up quite often about the country park is the resourcing of the facilities going forward. So hopefully that will be included in those considerations. So thank you. Judy, did you want to mention your one that you wanted in? I think it was the one that came out of the Environment Excellence panel, minute 27, wasn't it?
Apologies, Chair. Yes, the that would be the decision on having smaller waste bins, residual waste bins. Can we bring that along? Can that be included, please?
Yep. Okay. So get that on
Don't
the
know if
plan as
anybody
well.
wants any more detail, but
We can add that for April, Chair.
Okay. Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Okay, nothing else on the forward plan. So that moves us on then to item 18. And I will move that the press and public be excluded from the meeting for the remaining items of business, because otherwise information which is exempt information by virtue of paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, as amended by the Local Government Access to Information Variation Order 2006, would be disclosed to them.